The ship came down from the sky on a cold morning in Montana. The clouds were gray and heavy with snow. The fields were empty and brown. Winter was coming fast, and the land looked dead and tired. Inside the ship sat a creature that did not belong on Earth. Her name was Una, and she was a dragon woman from a world very far away. She stood 7 feet tall. Her body was covered in scales that changed color when light touched them. Sometimes they looked green, like deep forest leaves. Sometimes they looked blue, like the night sky. Her eyes were gold, bright and sharp like coins made of fire. Behind her back, 2 great wings folded tight against her body. She could breathe fire if she wanted to. She had killed many enemies in her long life, but now she was a slave. No, not a slave. The papers said bride, but Una knew the truth. Her people had lost a war. The winners took everything. They took the land. They took the treasure. And they took the daughters of the losing side and sold them to other worlds. Una was 230 years old. She had been a warrior, a leader, a hunter. Now she was cargo. The ship door opened. Cold air rushed in and touched her scales. Una walked down the ramp and put her clawed feet on Earth's soil for the first time. The ground was hard and frozen. Small white birds ran away from her, making scared noises. She looked around at this new world. There was a small white house with a red roof. There was a big red building that she would later learn was called a barn. There were fences made of wood. There were machines she did not understand. And there, standing on the porch of the small house, was her buyer. Una had expected many things. She had expected a rich man who wanted to show off an alien wife. She had expected a scientist who wanted to study her body. She had expected a cruel master who would chain her and use her for hard work. She did not expect a small old woman with white hair and a warm smile. The woman was short, very short. The top of her head would not even reach Una's chest. Her skin was wrinkled like old paper. Her hair was thin and white like spider silk. She wore simple clothes, a thick sweater, and pants covered in dirt. Her hands were rough and worn from years of hard work. This was Linda Morrison. A farmer, a widow, a mother who had lost her only son. Una walked toward the porch. Her tail dragged behind her, leaving a line in the dirt. She stopped at the bottom of the wooden steps and looked down at the tiny human. "Send me back," Una said. Her voice was deep and rough. It sounded like rocks grinding together. "I will not be a pet for you to show your friends. I will not be a toy. I will not lower myself to serve a creature who will die in the blink of my eye. Send me back." Linda did not look scared. She did not step away. She did not even stop smiling. She just tilted her head to one side, like a small bird looking at something interesting.
Nice.
"My son already chose you, dear," Linda said. Her voice was soft and kind. Una felt confused. This was not the answer she expected. "Your son?" The contract said this arrangement was for farm work. You needed help with your land. There was no mention of a son. Linda's smile changed. It became sad but still warm. There was a son. His name was Kevin. He found your file 3 years ago when I first started looking into the exchange program. I wanted help with the farm, yes? My old bones cannot do what they used to do. But Kevin, he saw your picture and your story, and he became very interested. Una felt her wings twitch under her cloak. Interested in what way? He read everything about you. How you were a warrior. How you protected your people. How you fought in 12 battles and never lost. How you saved young ones from a fire once, burning your own wings to carry them to safety. Linda's old eyes grew wet with tears she did not let fall. He said you had kind eyes. He said that someone who would burn herself to save children was not a monster, no matter what she looked like. Something strange happened in Una's chest. A feeling she had not felt in a very long time. It was uncomfortable, like a crack forming in stone. Where is this son now? Una asked. Why does he not come to meet his chosen bride? Linda was quiet for a moment. The wind blew cold around them. Somewhere far away, a bird called out. Cancer, Linda said finally. He got sick 2 years ago. The doctors tried everything, but the sickness was too strong. He died 8 months before your ship arrived." She wiped her eyes with the back of her worn hand. "He made me promise to finish what he started. He made me promise to bring you here. He said everyone deserves a home, even dragons from the stars." Yuna did not know what to say. She had prepared herself for hate. She had prepared herself for fear. She had prepared herself for cruelty and chains and a life of misery. She had not prepared herself for this. For a dead man's kindness, reaching across space to touch her. For an old woman standing alone in the cold, keeping a promise to her lost child. "This is foolish," Yuna said, but her voice was not as hard as before. "You do not know me. I could kill you with one swipe of my claws. I could burn your little house to ash. Why would you bring something so dangerous into your home?" Linda laughed. It was a small, warm sound. "Oh, honey, I have survived 67 Montana winters. I have buried a husband and a son. I have fought off wolves and bears and tax collectors. I am not afraid of much anymore." She stepped back and opened her front door. Warm light and good smells came out. "Now come inside before you freeze. I made soup. I was not sure what dragons eat, so I made chicken soup. Everyone likes chicken soup." Yuna stood there in the cold. Behind her was the ship that could take her back to a life of shame and emptiness. Before her was a tiny house with a tiny woman and a bowl of soup. She did not know why she did it. Later, she would think about this moment many times. She would wonder what made her choose. But in that moment, she simply walked up the steps, folded her wings tight, bent her head low, and walked through the door into Linda Morrison's home. The soup was good. The house was warm. And for the first time in 3 years, Yuna slept without nightmares. 3 months passed on the Morrison farm. Winter came hard and fast. Snow covered everything in thick white blankets. The wind howled at night like hungry wolves. The cold was so strong that water turned to ice inside pipes. Yuna had never felt cold like this before. Her homeworld was warm, full of volcanoes and hot springs. But she found that her body could handle the earth winter better than she expected. The fire inside her kept her warm, and she discovered something useful about herself. She could heat things just by touching them. Linda showed her the greenhouse. It was a building made of glass, where plants grew even in winter. But the heating system was old and broken. It cost too much money to fix. Many plants had died in past winters because of this. "Watch," Yuna said one morning. She pressed her clawed hands against the metal pipes that carried water through the greenhouse. She closed her eyes and let her inner fire flow out, gentle and controlled. The pipes grew warm. The water inside them heated up. The whole greenhouse became comfortable and nice. Linda clapped her hands together like a happy child. "Oh my goodness! Yuna, that is wonderful. The tomatoes will survive now." Yuna felt strange. Proud, maybe? It had been a long time since anyone was happy because of something she did. On her world, she had only been valued for her ability to destroy. Here, this small human was excited because she could help things grow. The days fell into a pattern. Yuna would wake early, when the sky was still dark. She would heat the greenhouse first. Then she would help Linda feed the chickens and the 2 old horses that lived in the barn. She learned to collect eggs without breaking them, which was hard with her big clawed hands. She learned to brush the horses gently, which made them trust her. She even learned to fix the wooden fence when it broke, using her strength to push posts deep into the frozen ground. But the thing that confused Yuna most was not the work. It was how Linda treated her. Every morning, Linda set 2 plates on the kitchen table. One was a normal human plate. The other was a large metal plate that she had ordered special from a company in the city. It was strong enough to handle Yuna's claws and the heat of her food. Every night, Linda said goodnight to Yuna before going to bed. She did not say goodnight like a master to a servant. She said it like a mother to a daughter, soft and warm and real. One evening, Yuna could not stay quiet anymore. She was sitting by the fire, her tail curled around her feet, watching Linda knit something with yarn. The old woman's hands moved fast, even though her fingers were bent with age. "Why do you set a place for me at your table?" Yuna asked. Linda looked up from her knitting. What do you mean? I am not human. I am not your family. The contract says I am here to work. You do not need to treat me like a guest. You do not need to pretend that I am equal to you. Linda put down her knitting. She looked at Una for a long moment. Her old eyes were sharp and clear. You live here now, Linda said simply. That makes you family. I am not family. I am a slave. A purchase. A thing you bought because your son wanted me. No. Linda's voice became hard for the first time since Una arrived. It surprised the dragon woman. She had not known the old human could sound so strong. The contract says bride, and in this family, that word means something. It means equal. It means loved. It means you sit at the table and eat with me, not in some corner like an animal. Una's golden eyes went wide. You do not love me? You do not even know me. I am learning, Linda said. Her voice was soft again. Every day, I learn a little more. I see how gentle you are with the horses. I see how careful you are with the eggs. I see how you stand outside at night and look at the stars. I know you are thinking about your home and all the things you lost. She picked up her knitting again. My Kevin saw something in you worth loving? I am starting to see it too. Una did not know what to say. Her throat felt tight. Her eyes burned in a way they had not burned in 200 years. She turned her face away so Linda would not see. The people who sold me, Una said quietly. They told me humans were weak. They said humans were like insects. Short lives, soft bodies, no fire, no claws, no power. They said being sold to a human was the worst shame possible. And what do you think now? Linda asked. Una was quiet for a long time. She watched the fire dance in the stone fireplace. She listened to the wind howl outside. She felt the warmth of the house wrap around her like a blanket. I think they were wrong, Una finally said. I have watched you work every day. You wake before the sun. You work until your old body shakes with tired. You grow food, tend animals, fix broken things, keep this farm alive all by yourself. You have buried your husband and your son, and still you wake up each morning and choose to keep living. She turned to look at Linda. That is not weakness. That is a kind of strength I do not understand. Linda smiled. It is called hope, dear. Humans are very good at hope. Even when everything is dark, we keep hoping for light. That night, alone in the room Linda had prepared for her, Una cried. She cried for the first time since her people sold her. She cried for her lost home, her lost honor, her lost purpose. She cried for the son she never met, who had looked at a dragon and seen something worth saving. She cried for the mother who kept his promise. And she cried for herself. Because she was beginning to feel something dangerous. Something she had locked away deep inside her heart many years ago. Hope. When morning came, Una went to the kitchen. Linda was already there, making something that smelled sweet and good. 2 plates sat on the table. 2 cups of hot drink steamed in the cold air. Una sat down in her place. She picked up her cup. She looked at the old woman across the table. Thank you, Una said. The words felt strange in her mouth. She had not said them in a very long time. Linda reached across the table and patted Una's clawed hand. You are welcome, dear. Now eat your breakfast. We have fences to fix today. Una ate. And for the first time since coming to Earth, she felt like she might belong somewhere. Spring came to Montana like a gift. The snow melted. The brown fields turned green. Flowers pushed up through the wet earth. Birds came back from their winter travels and filled the air with song. The farm felt alive again. Una had been on Earth for 6 months now. She had changed in ways she did not fully understand. She smiled more. She laughed sometimes when Linda told her funny stories about the farm animals. She had learned to cook 3 human dishes. She had learned to read human books. She had even started to think of the small white farmhouse as home. But the universe does not let good things last forever. The ship came on a bright spring morning. It was not a small cargo ship like the one that had brought Una. This was a warship. It was black and sharp, shaped like a blade cutting through the sky. It hovered above the Morrison farm and blocked out the sun. The shadow it cast made the whole farm go dark and cold. Yuna knew that ship. She knew it very well. It belonged to the Drakenei Empire. Her people had come to take her back. Linda came out of the house. She looked up at the huge ship with wide eyes. "Yuna, what is that?" Before Yuna could answer, figures began to drop from the ship. They fell like dark stars and landed in the field with heavy sounds. Drakenei warriors. 12 of them. They wore battle armor that gleamed like black glass. They carried weapons that could cut through stone, and leading them was a dragon man that Yuna had hoped never to see again. His name was Ru. He was a commander. In the Imperial Army, he was bigger than Yuna by 2 feet. His scales were dark red, the color of dried blood. His face was covered in scars from many battles. He had killed hundreds in his long life, maybe thousands. He walked toward the farmhouse with slow, heavy steps. His soldiers followed behind him in perfect order. Yuna stepped in front of Linda. Her wings spread wide. Fire began to glow in her throat. "Commander Ru," she said. Her voice was hard as stone. "You have no business here. This is not Draconi space. This is Earth. You have no power here." Ru stopped walking. He looked at Yuna with cold yellow eyes. Then he looked at Linda, and his mouth twisted into an ugly smile. "Yuna of the Fallen Stone Clan," he said. His voice was deep and cruel. "You have been found. The Empire has reconsidered your exile. Your bloodline is valuable. We need you for breeding. You will come back with us now. The contract with this human is nothing. It is void." Linda stepped out from behind Yuna. The dragon woman tried to push her back, but the old human was stubborn. She stood there, small and gray, and completely unafraid, looking up at the massive dragon commander. "She is not going anywhere," Linda said. Her voice was steady. "She belongs here now. This is her home." Ru laughed. It was not a nice laugh. It sounded like rocks breaking. "You are a foolish old creature. I could kill you with one breath. Move aside or die." "Over my dead body," Linda said. Everything went quiet. The birds stopped singing. The wind stopped blowing. Even the soldiers seemed frozen, surprised by this tiny human who dared to stand against their commander. Ru raised his clawed hand. Dark fire began to gather in his palm. He was going to kill Linda. He was going to burn her to ash right there in her own field. But before the fire could fly, something happened that would be talked about across the galaxy for years to come. Yuna moved. She moved faster than she had ever moved before. She put herself between Ru and Linda. Her wings spread to their full size, 15 feet from tip to tip. Her own fire exploded from her throat and mouth, golden and bright. Her roar shook the farmhouse windows. It shook the trees. It shook the hearts of every soldier who heard it. "You will not touch her." Ru stepped back. Even he, the great commander, felt fear at that moment. He had never seen Yuna like this. Her eyes were blazing. Her scales were glowing with heat. She looked like the ancient dragons from the old stories, the ones who had protected worlds and burned armies. "You defend a human?" Ru snarled. "You have fallen so low. These creatures are nothing. They are insects. They live and die in the blink of an eye. They are weak and soft and worthless. They are not weak." Yuna's voice echoed across the farm. Fire dripped from her jaws like burning tears. "I have lived with this human for 6 months. I have watched her work harder than any Drakenei I have ever known. She wakes before the sun and does not rest until the stars come out. She grows food with her own hands. She cares for animals who depend on her. She survives winters that would kill many of our people." Yuna took a step toward Ru. He did not step back this time, but she saw his eyes flicker with doubt. She lost her mate to sickness. She lost her son to disease. She lost everything that mattered to her. And still, she gets up every morning. Still, she chooses to live. Still, she finds things to love and protect.
Yes.
Another step forward. She took me into her home when she had every reason to fear me. She fed me at her table. She gave me a room and a bed and a place to belong. She showed me kindness when I had known only cruelty. Yuna was close to Rue now, close enough to touch. Her golden eyes burned into his yellow ones. She gave me love, Yuna said quietly. Do you understand? A human gave a dragon love. Not because I was useful. Not because I was powerful. Not because she was afraid of me. She loved me because that is what humans do. They love things that are different. They love things that are strange. They love things that the rest of the universe throws away. She spread her wings even wider. The sun returned, golden light streaming around her like a crown. This woman is under my protection, now and forever. If you want to take me, you will have to go through her. And if you touch one hair on her head, I will burn you and your soldiers and your ship to ashes that the wind will scatter across this beautiful planet. The standoff lasted for what felt like years. Rue and Yuna stood face to face, fire in their eyes. The soldiers held their weapons tight. Linda stood behind Yuna, small and brave and silent. Finally, Rue lowered his hand. The dark fire faded away. The Empire will hear of this, he said. His voice was full of anger and something that might have been shame. They will know that Yuna of the Fallen Stone betrayed her own kind for a human pet. Let them hear, Yuna said. Let them know that Yuna of Earth chose love over duty. Let them know that she found something worth protecting. And let them know that if they ever come back here, they will face the same fire. Rue turned and walked back to his soldiers. They rose into the air and flew back to their ship. The great black vessel turned and climbed into the sky. In moments it was gone. Yuna's fire faded. Her wings folded. She suddenly felt very tired. Then she felt a small hand on her arm. Linda was there, looking up at her with tears running down her wrinkled cheeks. Thank you, Linda whispered. Yuna knelt down so she was at the same height as the old woman. No, she said. Thank you for showing me what family really means. They held each other in the spring sunshine, dragon and human, mother and daughter in all the ways that mattered. The story spread like fire across the galaxy. Someone had recorded the confrontation. Maybe a satellite watching from space. Maybe a neighbor with a camera. Nobody knew for sure. But within days, the video was everywhere. On human news channels. On alien networks. On communication systems across 100 different worlds. A dragon woman standing against her own empire. A tiny old human woman refusing to move. Fire and courage and love. People could not stop watching it. They watched it again and again. They shared it with their friends and families. They talked about it at work and at dinner tables. The video had no sound, but everyone could see what was happening. Everyone could see the moment when Yuna chose Earth. Over her own kind, the first letters arrived 2 weeks after the confrontation. Linda brought the mail inside like she did every day. But this time there was so much mail that she needed 3 trips. She dropped the huge pile on the kitchen table and stared at it with wide eyes. Yuna, she called. You need to see this. Yuna came in from the greenhouse. Her hands were covered in dirt from planting new seeds. She looked at the mountain of envelopes and packages on the table. What is all this? I do not know, Linda said. Let us find out. They opened the letters together. What they found inside made both of them cry. The first letter was from a little girl named Emma from a place called Ohio. She was 7 years old. She had drawn a picture with crayons. It showed a big green dragon with golden eyes standing next to a small gray-haired woman. Both figures were smiling. Around them were red hearts and yellow stars. At the bottom, in messy child writing, it said, Dear Yuna, thank you for protecting your mom. You are my hero. Love, Emma. The second letter was from a soldier named James, who had served in many wars. He wrote that he understood what it meant to stand and fight for someone you loved. He said Yuna reminded him of his own battle brothers. He thanked her for showing the galaxy that humans were worth protecting. The third letter was from a family in Japan. They had enclosed a paper crane, carefully folded from beautiful colored paper. They wrote that in their culture, cranes meant hope and healing. They wanted Yuna to have hope. Letter after letter. Hundreds of them, then thousands. Children and adults. Soldiers and teachers. Doctors and farmers. People from every country on Earth. People from alien worlds that Yuna had never heard of. Some sent gifts, drawings and paintings, handmade crafts, poems and songs. One person sent a quilt that they had sewn themselves, big enough for a dragon to use as a blanket. Another person sent seeds from their garden. Rare flowers that Linda had never seen before, and the money came too. Yuna did not understand human money very well, but Linda did. She sat at the table and counted, and her old hands began to shake. "What is wrong?" Yuna asked. "Are you sick?" "No, dear." Linda looked up with tears streaming down her face. "These people, strangers I have never met. They have sent enough money to fix everything. The barn roof, the broken tractor, the heating system in the greenhouse." She put her hands over her mouth. "The medical bills? Medical bills? What medical bills?" Linda was quiet for a moment. Then she sighed. "I am old, Yuna. Old bodies break down. I have been seeing doctors in town. There are problems with my heart. The treatments cost a lot of money. I was not sure how I would pay." Yuna felt cold fear grip her chest. "Why did you not tell me?" "Because you had already been through so much. I did not want to add more worry to your life." Yuna knelt beside Linda's chair. She took the old woman's small hands in her large clawed ones. "You are my family. Your worries are my worries. Promise me you will not hide things like this again." Linda smiled through her tears. "I promise, dear." More attention came in the following weeks. News reporters arrived at the farm wanting interviews. Linda did not like cameras very much, but she was polite to the reporters. Yuna stood beside her and said little. She was not sure what to say. She had only done what felt right. Important humans came to visit too. Government people in fancy clothes. They gave Yuna special papers that said she was now a legal citizen of Earth. They said she had earned it. The president himself called on the phone and thanked her. His voice was kind, and he asked if there was anything the country could do to help. "Just leave us alone to farm in peace," Linda told him. "That is all we want." Scientists asked if they could study Yuna. They were curious about her body, her fire, her long life. She said no at first, but then they promised to ask nicely, to only take information she was willing to give, and to pay her for her time. She agreed to small tests. Nothing that hurt. Nothing that made her feel like a thing instead of a person. But through all of it, the letters from children meant the most to Yun. She read every single one. She looked at every drawing. She studied every crayon picture of herself, usually shown with giant wings and a big smile, and surrounded by hearts. She kept them all in a special box that Linda gave her. One night, she asked Linda a question. "Why do they care so much? These children do not know me. I am a stranger from another world. Why do they write to me?" Linda was sitting by the fire, wrapped in a warm blanket. Her health was getting a little better thanks to the new treatments. She looked at Yuna with soft eyes, because you showed them something important. You showed them that choosing love over hate is not weakness. You showed them that being kind to people who are different is a good thing. You showed them that family can be made, not just born. Children believe in that kind of magic, and you've proved to them that it is real. Yuna was quiet for a while. She held one of the crayon drawings in her clawed hands. It showed a dragon teaching a group of human children how to fly. The dragon had golden eyes like hers. "Your son," she said quietly. "Kevin, will you tell me about him?" Linda's eyes grew bright with happy tears. "I would love to, dear. What would you like to know?" "Everything." So Linda talked. She talked for hours. She told Yuna about Kevin as a baby, how he used to laugh at everything. She told her about Kevin as a boy, how he loved books and animals and the stars in the night sky. She told her about Kevin as a young man, how he had dreams of making the world better, how he wanted to help people and creatures from every corner of the universe. She told Yuna about the day Kevin found her file in the Exchange database. He came running into the kitchen, Linda said, laughing at the memory. He was 23 years old, but he ran like a little boy. He showed me your picture and your story, and he said, "Mom, we have to help her. Look at her eyes. She is not a monster. She is just lost. We have to bring her home." Eunice's throat felt tight. Her golden eyes burned with tears she tried not to let fall. "I wish I could have met him," she whispered. "You did meet him, dear." In a way, Linda reached over and touched Yuna's hand. "He lives on in you now. Every time you choose kindness, every time you protect someone weaker, every time you love without expecting anything back, that is Kevin's spirit working through you." Yuna carefully folded the crayon drawing and pressed it against her chest, over her heart. "I will try to be worthy of him," she said. "You already are," Linda replied. "You already are." That night, Yuna did not sleep. She sat by the window and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there was her old home, her old life, her old pain. But here, in this small farmhouse, she had found something better. She had found family. She had found purpose. She had found love, and she would protect it with everything she had. 15 years passed like water flowing in a river, fast and slow at the same time. Full of changes, some beautiful and some painful. The Morrison farm was not just a farm anymore. It had grown into something bigger, something wonderful. People from across the galaxy called it the Morrison Yuna Sanctuary, a place where lost beings could find home, a place where different species could learn to live together, a place built on the simple idea that love was stronger than fear. It started small. A few months after the confrontation with Commander Rue, a ship arrived carrying 3 young Draconi. They were children, orphans from the war that had destroyed Yuna's clan. They had heard the story of the dragon who chose a human family. They had traveled across the stars to find her. Yuna took them in. Linda helped her raise them. The children learned to farm, to cook human food, to speak English. They learned that being different was not a weakness. They learned that family could be chosen. Then came others. A family of blue-skinned aliens whose planet had been destroyed by a star explosion. The old robot who had been thrown away because he was too slow and outdated. A group of small furry creatures who had escaped from an illegal zoo. All of them found their way to the Montana farm. All of them found home. Linda was happy. Happier than she had been since losing Kevin. She loved being surrounded by children of all species. She taught them to bake cookies and plant gardens and tell stories by the fire. She was grandmother to beings from a dozen different worlds. But time is cruel to humans. On a quiet winter night, when snow was falling soft and white outside the windows, Linda Morrison closed her eyes for the last time. She was 82 years old. Her heart, tired from so many years of love and loss and joy, finally stopped beating. Yuna was holding her hand when it happened. She felt the exact moment when Linda left her body and went somewhere else. Somewhere that Yuna could not follow. The funeral was held on the farm. Hundreds of people came. Humans from the town who had known Linda all their lives. Aliens from distant worlds who had found shelter in her home. Children she had raised and fed and loved. Yuna stood at the front and said goodbye to the woman who had changed her life. Linda Morrison was small, Yuna said, her voice rough with grief. She was old and wrinkled, and she walked slowly with her worn-out knees. By Draconi standards, she was nothing special. No fire, no wings, no claws, no power. She paused and looked at the crowd. But Linda Morrison was the strongest person I have ever known. She carried grief that would crush most beings. And still, she found room in her heart for love. She opened her home to a monster from the stars and made that monster her daughter. She kept a promise to her dead son, even when it cost her everything. She showed the universe what humanity really means. Tears rolled down Yuna's scaled face. She did not try to hide them. Linda used to say that humans were very good at hope. She was right, but she was also the best at hope. She hoped so hard and so true that her hope became real. She hoped for a family, and family came to her from the stars. She hoped for love, and love filled this farm until it overflowed. She hoped that different species could live together in peace, and look at us now. She gestured at the crowd. Humans, standing next to aliens. Children of all species holding hands. A community built from hope and kindness. I am 245 years old. I will live for hundreds of years more. But I know that no matter how long I live, I will never meet anyone like Linda Morrison again. She was the best of humanity. And she chose me. After the funeral, the lawyers came with papers. Linda had written a will. She had left everything to Una, the farm, the land, the sanctuary, everything, but more than the property. She had left a letter. Una read it alone in Linda's old bedroom. Surrounded by photos of Kevin and memories of 15 happy years. Dear Una, the letter said, if you are reading this, then I have gone to see Kevin and my David again. Do not be sad for me. I lived a wonderful life, and the best part of that life was you. I know you are probably crying right now. Stop crying and listen to me. You have work to do. This farm started as my dream. Then it became Kevin's dream. Now it is your dream. Keep it alive. Keep bringing in lost souls who need a home. Keep showing the universe that love is stronger than hate. Keep being the daughter I always wanted and the hero that Kevin knew you could be. You asked me once why I set a place for you at my table. I told you it was because you were family. That is still true. It will always be true. Family does not end with death. It just changes shape. I will be watching you from wherever I end up. I will be so proud of everything you do. And when your time finally comes, a long, long time from now, Kevin and I will be waiting to welcome you home. I love you, my dragon daughter. Now go change the universe. Love always, Mom. Una held the letter against her heart and cried until she had no more tears left. 10 years later, the Morrison Una Sanctuary was famous across the galaxy. 17 different species lived there now. Former soldiers, refugees, orphans, outcasts. All of them learning what Una had learned on a small Montana farm so long ago. That family was not about blood or species. It was about choosing each other every single day. A reporter came from a big galactic news network. She wanted to interview Una for a special program about interspecies relations. Ambassador Una, the reporter said, your story has inspired billions of beings across the known universe. The phrase Morrison kindness is now used in 27 different star systems to describe acts of unexpected compassion. How does it feel to know you have changed so many lives? Una was sitting on the porch of the original farmhouse. She had kept it exactly as Linda had left it. The same furniture, the same pictures on the walls, the same table with 2 place settings, one human-sized and one dragon-sized. She thought about the question for a long moment. Humanity taught me something, she finally said. The universe told humans that they were small and weak. Short lives, soft bodies, no natural weapons, easy to kill, easy to ignore. The universe said humans were nothing special. She looked out at the sanctuary. Alien children were playing in the fields. A young dragon was teaching a human teenager how to blow smoke rings without fire. An old robot was reading stories to a group of small, furry beings. Everywhere she looked, there was life and love and laughter. But humans did not listen to the universe. They chose to be kind anyway. They chose to love anyway. They chose to hope anyway. They built families out of strangers. They turned enemies into friends. They looked at a monster from the stars and said, welcome home. The reporter waited, sensing there was more. I demanded to be sent back when I first arrived here, Una said. I thought this planet had nothing to offer me. I thought humans were beneath me. I was wrong about everything. She stood up and walked to the edge of the porch. Above the front door hung a small sign that Linda had made years ago. It said, the Morrison home, where everyone belongs. Humans did not conquer the galaxy with weapons, Una said. They conquered it with kindness. With soup on cold nights and handmade quilts and crayon drawings from children. With an old woman who set an extra place at her table for a creature she had every reason to fear. She smiled, and for a moment she looked almost human. That is what makes humanity special. That is why I am proud to call myself their daughter. The reporter thanked her and left. The camera crew packed up their equipment. Soon, the farm was quiet again, filled only with the sounds of happy beings going about their lives. That night, like every night for the past 25 years, Una lit a small fire in the farmhouse hearth. She sat in Linda's old chair and looked at the flames dancing in the darkness. "Thank you," she whispered to the empty room. That was not really empty at all. "Thank you for not sending me back." And somewhere, in a place beyond the stars, a small old woman with white hair and a warm smile heard her dragon daughter's words, and she was proud.